It's ad light to you, ad lead to me. I don't care how you quote it. Ad lead, ad light, don't pronounce it. Just go out and vote it. Stevenson!
It's football time. And every Saturday afternoon in stadiums all over the country, you'll see young men, like this one, watching the games and enjoying themselves. But 4 years ago, it was a different story. 4 years ago, many of our young men were on Heartbreak Ridge in Korea. And that was no game, but vicious, grinding war that went on and on as if forever. Of course, today it's all over, and the young men are trying to forget. But for one day this year, they'll remember. And that one day is Election Day, November 6th, when not only these young men, but Americans of all ages will be thinking long and hard about how to vote for the surest road to peace during the next 4 years. What are some of their thoughts?
I'm engaged this time, and I'm planning to get married. And I don't want to look forward to military service in war. I want my children to grow up in a country that's in peace. I think that Ike is a man that can do this for us.
I will vote for President Eisenhower because I am the mother of 3 children, and I feel with President Eisenhower in command of our country, I can raise my children with great security.
I'm going to vote for Ike because of his outstanding record in the past 4 years, and because I believe through the Republican administration we will have peace and prosperity for my children to grow up for at least the next 20 years.
I served 4.5 years in the United States Army Air Forces and am a great admirer of President Eisenhower in what he did during the war in leading us to victory and what he is now doing to lead us to peace and to hold the peace of this world.
I have an 18-year-old son, and I am so grateful to Eisenhower for giving him an uninterrupted education. So many of the boys, his friends, were sent to Korea in a war that had no successful conclusion.
All over the country, young men and their parents are asking, can we gamble when the stakes are so high? Can we dismiss the man who has kept us at peace and take a chance on a man untried and inexperienced in international negotiations and world problems? Or what do you say? Are you willing to bet everything you love and hold dear that Stevenson can also keep us out of war? Are you that sure of it? Remember, this peace we've grown so used to didn't come to us as a gift.
Kennedy, 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 Kennedy.
Do you want a man for president who's seasoned through and through, but not so doggone seasoned that he won't try something new? A man who's old enough to know
and young enough to do.
Well, it's up to you, it's up to you, it's strictly up to you.
Do you like a man who answers straight, a man who's always fair?
We'll measure him against the others, and when you compare, you cast your vote for Kennedy and the change that's overdue. So it's up to you, it's up to you, it's strictly up to you. Yes, it's Kennedy, 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 Kennedy for me. Kennedy, 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 Kennedy,
The following is a pre-recorded, paid political announcement.
We have suffered a loss that cannot be waived. I will do my best. That is all I can do. I ask for your help. and God's.
And so Lyndon Baines Johnson, the 36th President of the United States, thrust suddenly into leadership of the free world by the tragic assassination of John F. Kennedy, returned to the nation's capital. He came with grief in his heart, but he also came determined that the young president he had served did not live or die in vain.
John Kennedy's death commands what his life conveyed, that America must move forward. And now the ideas and the ideals which he so nobly represented must and will be translated into effective action.
The promises made that November day were strong promises. One by one, they have been kept. An $11 billion tax cut proposed by President Kennedy was signed into law by President Johnson on February 26th. The president sought and won support from both parties in passing a bill to fulfill our founding fathers' commitment that every American have his full constitutional rights. The anti-poverty bill expressed the president's and the people's determination to eliminate poverty from the richest nation in the world. It was signed on August 20th. Led by the president, Congress passed 5 significant bills on education, more than any other Congress in recent history. The president signed the Wilderness Bill, saving threatened areas of natural beauty. He signed new legislation attacking the problems of transportation and housing in our cities. New programs to help ensure the farmer a fair reward for his labor. In fact, 45 major bills were passed. But the president's leadership was not felt in the halls of Congress alone. He helped to settle a 4.5-year-old conflict between the railroad companies and the men who operate the trains, averting a strike that could have paralyzed the nation. He cut the federal budget. Only the second time in 10 years this has been done. And federal expenditures have been kept below the level authorized in the budget. When American destroyers were attacked in the Gulf of Tonkin, he replied firmly and decisively, and communist aggression was turned back. In the dark days of last November, President Johnson expressed the nation's purpose in 3 simple words. Let us continue. Vote for President Johnson on November 3rd.
Why are more and more millions of Americans turning to Governor Wallace? Follow as your children are bused across town.
As president, I shall, within the law, turn back the absolute control of the public school systems to the people of the respective states.
Why are more and more millions of Americans turning to Governor Wallace? Take a walk in your street or park tonight.
As president, I shall help make it possible for you and your families to walk the streets of our cities in safety.
Why are more and more millions of Americans turning to Governor Wallace? Watch your hard-earned tax dollars sail away to anti-American countries.
As president, I will halt the giveaway of your American dollars and products to those nations that aid our enemies.
Wallace has the courage to stand up for America. Give him your support.
This is the passport of the President of the United States. In his 4 years in office, Richard Nixon has visited 6 continents and 47 countries. In India, he laid out the Nixon Doctrine. In Yugoslavia, he met with Marshal Tito. In Mexico, he signed an agreement to combat drug traffic. In Canada, he signed the Great Lakes Environmental Agreement. In China, he talked peace with Mao Zedong. In the Soviet Union, the nuclear arms agreement became a reality. President Nixon's travels represent a new foreign policy for the United States, a policy that calls for the self-reliance of our allies and peaceful negotiations with our enemies, all for a single purpose: world peace. But there are still places to go and friends to be won. That's why we need President Nixon. Now,
12 million people on welfare chronically. First of all, we need to separate that 10% of welfare recipients who can work completely out of the welfare program. Put them under the Labor Department, Education Department, teach them how to work, give them a job training, match them with a job and offer it to them. If they don't take it, when it's offered to them, I wouldn't pay them any more benefits.
If you agree that our welfare system must be reformed, vote for Jimmy Carter.
Anderson was born and raised in Rockford, Illinois. After serving in Europe during World War II, he spent 2.5 years in the Foreign Service in Berlin. John Anderson was a state's attorney, and for the last 20 years a respected U.S. congressman. He's been married for 27 years and helped raise 5 children. In Congress, John Anderson fought for equal rights, campaign reform, a strong economy, and a bold new energy program. We need John Anderson for president. Call in your pledge to 800-331-1000 or send your check for any amount from $5 to $1,000 to National Unity Campaign for John Anderson, Box 400, Washington, D.C. 20044. Former President Gerald Ford once said of John Anderson, quote, "He's the smartest guy in Congress, but he insists on voting his conscience instead of party," unquote. Don't we really need that independence, that intelligence, that conscience in a president? Don't we really need John Anderson now? With your help, he can win.
Request to make of you. Vote on Election Day. Vote for yourselves. You don't have to vote for me. Vote in your own interest. And when you do that, you can only vote one way. Vote for the welfare of the country, vote for the welfare of the world, and vote for your own welfare by voting the Democratic ticket straight on November the 2nd.
On November 4th, re-elect President Carter.
In this building, Mr. Reagan's people are borrowing the money that's putting each of us $18,000 into debt. Deficit spending. And who walks away with the money? 90,000 profitable corporations that pay no taxes. Defense contractors on bloated budgets. Foreign interests who make money on our debt. What the deficit really means for their free ride. But in November, you can stop it. Mondale Ferrara. They're fighting for your future.
Spoke for our concerns.
People all over this country who, in some cases, are living from paycheck to paycheck. In other cases, are having a hard time opening up the door of college opportunity to their children.
With ideas to make life better.
And I think it's time that when you got a job in this country, it came with health insurance.
And vision to build the future.
The best America is not behind us. The best America is yet to come.
Michael Dukakis for president. Let's take charge of America's future.
Spiro, on voting your conscience.
If you want to rebuild the job base, let your vote say so. If you want a government that comes from the people instead of at the people, let your vote say so. If you want to reduce our $4 trillion national debt, let your vote say so. Look at the issues, look at the facts, look at all 3 candidates, and then vote your conscience.
Ross Perot for president.
A plain-spoken man from the heart of America, Russell, Kansas. In Russell, you say what you're going to do, and you do it. The truth. First, last, always the truth. When Bob Dole says he'll cut your taxes 15%, he'll cut your taxes 15%. This is Bob Dole. He's a workhorse, not a show horse. And he knows whose money it really is. Your family's.
In this election, the environment itself is on the ballot, and there's a big difference between us. I'll never put polluters in charge of our environmental laws. I've worked for 24 years to protect our air and water and hold polluters accountable. And I believe if we act now, we can reverse the tide of global warming. I hear some people say, this election doesn't really matter. It does matter. Our air and water are at stake, and I need your help to protect them.
What would your biggest mistake be, would you say, and what lessons have you learned from it?
I wish you'd have given me this written question ahead of time so I could plan for it. I'm sure something will pop in my head here in the midst of this press conference, all the pressure of trying to come up with an answer, but it hadn't yet. I hope I don't want to sound like I've made no mistakes. I'm confident I have. I just haven't, just put me under the spot here, and maybe I'm not as quick on my feet as I should be in coming up with one.
Offshore drilling would not lower gas prices today.
I think John McCain's proposal for a 3-month tax holiday is a bad idea.
Spain, John McCain's offering the same old gimmicks.
I start off with the premise that nuclear energy is not optimal. So I am not a nuclear energy proponent. A nation just to win an election. Walk the walk.
A new attack ad by a super PAC backing President Obama basically blames Mitt Romney for a woman's death from cancer.
And this ad basically accuses Mitt Romney of practically killing her. Is that the kind of rhetoric you want to hear, especially a president who ran 4 years ago on raising the level of rhetoric?
Well, you do know that we don't have anything to do with Priorities USA.
They're not telling the truth.
We don't have anything to do with Priorities USA. We're not allowed to coordinate with them. We don't have anything to do with Priorities USA.
I'm Barack Obama, and I approve this message.
BS.
We have a cancer close to the presidency that's growing.
This message.
You can't lead this nation if you have such a low opinion for its citizens.
How stupid are the people of the country?
We're building a wall. He's a Mexican.
You got to see this guy. Oh, I don't know what I said. I don't remember.
You're living in poverty. Your schools are no good. You have no jobs. What the hell do you have to lose?
If you look at his wife, she had nothing to say. Maybe she wasn't allowed to have anything to say.
He's a war hero because he was captured. I like people that weren't captured, okay? I hate to tell you.
You've called women you don't like fat pigs, dogs, slobs, and disgusting animals.
She's a disgusting pig, right? I'd like to punch him in the face.
They're losers.
Loser.
Disgusting, stupid.
You can't lead this nation if you have such a low opinion for its citizens.
I think it's under control. I'll tell you what.
How? 1,000 Americans are dying a day.
They are dying. I think it's under control.
They'll stop at nothing.
Well, I got rid of Roe v. Wade.
The Republican... They'll stop at nothing.
Well, I got rid of Roe v. Wade.
The Republican Party is committed to banning access to abortion for all women in this country.
But Kamala Harris won't back down.
Vice President Harris hammers Republicans on the issue of abortion rights for women.
With so much at stake, we don't have time to waste. Resilient, relentless, fighter. The time is now. Women Vote is responsible for the content of this ad.